Well, I'm still working and driving, so I'm just going to vent about the kind of contrast and the differences between uh, the fallout of making a good choice and the repercussions or um, decisions that or actions that followed that decision, and then the consequences of making another choice and everything that followed that decision. And so I quit my job as a result of. So the decision was that I wanted to live a life or live somewhere that was more in line with the things that I had come across in my lifetime that made a noticeable difference in my mood and just general feeling of well-being, so that I could try to recenter and stabilize and get back to a healthier place, because I had found a few things over the years that did help me regulate and kind of navigate ups and downs a little easier. And so the decision was basically to be on the beach, to be somewhere sunny all the time or as much as possible, and to be able to go in the ocean or go swimming every day. And from there, sort of start to rebuild. And so the fallout of that was that originally I had planned to kind of hybridize my job and sort of work remotely in Mexico back and forth, just to try and not torpedo my life. And I went and checked that out and sort of had built a plan around that. And then it ended up kind of falling apart, and I fell back in the same rut. And so what ended up happening was me leaving my job, and that ended up actually being another positive consequence of making this choice, was that I actually de-stressed myself significantly and pulled myself away from something that was very detrimental and very unhealthy, and had become very unfulfilling and have led to very destructive patterns in my life. And downstream of that, I moved away, restabilized, kind of met some new groups of people, got out a little bit, but I ended up getting healthier, losing like 30 pounds fairly quickly, eating healthy, being active, getting sun, kind of following through with all that, getting into yoga, just like doing all of the things that I said I needed in my life. And from that, built a substantially healthier life on top of that. And the byproduct of that was I was more able to regulate what was going on, ups and downs, mood issues, mood swings, and even when things were bad, I was able to kind of hang on to the fact that things weren't really that bad. And the majority of times I had something bad happen, I would go to sleep and wake up in a new mind frame and see it from a completely different way and sort of shake it off and find a way to resolve it. On top of that, I was able to recognize a lot of things that were failing in me, and I was as a circumstance around the boredom, I kind of had to focus on myself a lot more, and that came with posting videos and kind of pursuing these other things to sort of branch out, and that led to me pushing to face things that I didn't want to do, and I was kind of on an improving trajectory for that, and following through with just making more positive changes and finding a different way to address what was going on with my life and find a new path forward. And then to circle back to making another decision, I at the beginning of this year, I made a decision to come back here to work because there was some things that weren't working out where I was, and I have been contemplating making a move to another country, and so I was going to have to spend a chunk of money to do a little bit of a tour, and so coming back to work would allow me to make some of that money and sort of ease the burden of traveling to a bunch of cities and make it so that I could make a proper decision about whether or not to move. So I pushed against that and had a lot of apprehension around it, but at the end of the day, I decided that it did make sense. The upside was that I kind of came to realize that it is just a decision within my control. I also was able to reach out to a lot of people for feedback on this and get some support and get some advice, and I was able to hear a lot of it and be heard as well. But the downside of this is that I rushed to come back. It cost more money than it should have. Things weren't quite organized when I got back, so there were some hiccups and extra costs involved with that, and everything snowballed around that a little bit. The cost to eat as healthy as I was when I was in Vietnam basically quadrupled, if not more than that. Like the cost is through the roof, and it's arguable that it's not even really comparable because I'm not really eating whole foods. I'm eating a lot of protein bars, protein powder, protein drinks, stuff like that. I am supplementing it with some pre-made meals that are fairly healthy, but compared to what I was eating and how clean I was eating, there's a noticeable difference. Also, I had finally gotten onto a regular sleep schedule back there where I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning every morning pretty much without an alarm, starting my day, kind of sleeping as I needed to, doing the things that were important for me to get healthy. And then back here, I've pushed my sleep quite a bit. My energy drink and coffee consumption is tripled. My expenses obviously have at least tripled. And so now I'm looking at not really making as much money as I had expected originally. And on top of that, I broke my phone this morning, which is another $1,000. It just kind of keeps compounding, and there's less and less straw here, and this is just to barely maintain the same level of quality of life. And so for me, the decision was already clear, but now I have all these sort of concrete things piling up, and I'm trying not to be negative. And as somebody that has worked very hard most of their life, it's walking away from something like this is not really anything I intend to do, but it is piling up more and more that the value in being here has been dissipating quickly, and again, it was like it was already a struggle just to maintain somewhat comparable lifestyle. That being said, I don't regret the decision. I don't regret being here. I don't regret seeing family, seeing friends. I don't regret the things that I needed to come here for, and trying to resolve that. If I'm looking for downsides, it was like tourist season in Nha Trang, so all the beaches were getting flooded. Everything was busy, more expensive. Other than tons of sunshine and nice beach weather, I'm not really missing a ton at the moment. But to me, it is the drastic contrast in lifestyle for you're making a significant amount of money compared to what I was making in Nha Trang, but it costs so much that like the standard of living is essentially the same or lower. It's a crazy thing. Like I don't know how this is sustainable here. Like it's not easy to stay healthy. It's not easy to manage your mental health here and your just general well-being. Like there's so many things that are significantly harder. Yeah. Well, this was me venting and complaining as I do often. The jury is still out on the ups and downs of my second decision. I haven't given up completely yet. I don't pretend to know how tomorrow's gonna go. There's lots of things on the horizon that could make all of this worth it, or completely a waste of time, or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's my choice whether it's a waste of time, and I'm not going to let it be that. But yeah, whether it was the best decision I've ever made, that definitely is the question that's still on the fence. Anyways, have a good night.